when we have these conferences, meetings that have to do with responding to climate change or mitigating climate action or adapting to climate change, we always have all these different propositions or proposals on what the activity should be like, what the intervention should be like, but we don't pay actual or adequate attention to how you can actually implement this without because it requires money. And when we look at the landscape, it's the developed countries are the greatest contributors to climate issues, and then the developing countries, they suffer the most. And most of these countries that need to roll out these interventions to adapt and mitigate don't actually have adequate resources to do that. The developed countries are the greatest contributors to climate issues, and then the developing countries, they suffer the most. And most of these countries that need to roll out these interventions to adapt and mitigate don't actually have adequate resources to do that. So if we don't bring the issue about money into the conversation, that's why I say it will just be storytelling, just saying we need this policy, we need to undertake this activity, but then we can't do anything about it because we don't have the resources to. So we need to be intentional in making sure that whatever we propose, we need to find the ways to get the resources, financial resources, human resources, the right technology as well, to make sure that we'll be able to implement these activities in a timely manner.
A lot of the Western world is focused on emissions because that's the concern with the rising temperatures. The developing country contribution to emissions has been minimal. Pakistan, for example, contributes less than 1% to total world emissions. So using emissions as a motivating force to think about energy in Pakistan, it doesn't get much traction. So one has to come at it from the adaptation angle, from fiscal efficiency angle, that current ways of electricity generation, electricity distribution, and electricity billing make sense from fiscal point of view. Are we creating an energy sector which is profitable and therefore will attract private investment or not? So the other big issue in climate finance is what about the role of institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF, etc. One avenue to explore is the way, for example, IMF sets debt sustainability ceilings. And if those ceilings if there's some flexibility in those ceilings, depending on what the debt is being used for. If the debt is being used to move towards clean energy, if a country is developing a public investment program which encourages clean energy, which encourages renewable energy, then that debt should be treated differently from other debt.
Where is the actual finance? Where can I get access to the money? For a policymaker like myself, that's the question, because my needs are today. My requirement for finance is today. I have to put up green power plants. I have to put up solar power plants and the wind power plants, and for the longer term, hydropower plants. But for that, I need financing. I need it today. The process of accessing the so-called $625 billion worth of climate finance is very, very opaque. But climate finance for me, as a practitioner of public policy, is an abstract notion, abstract term. It's not very tangible.